Just give me a few minutes to get set up here. I'm trying to get the audio back onto the screen. Technical difficulties once again. Let me try it once more. Just give me a sec. Once again, can you hear me okay? Enter the freaky deaky music now. Ancient Chinese secret. Don't know why, but the audio, I cannot get it separate from the actual video. I have an MP3 file I was trying to play while the screen is scrolling, but for some reason through StreamYard you cannot do that, I guess, or I just don't know how. You have a choice of either picking tab audio or the other option of the system audio. But for whatever reason, I can't pick system audio while having the video from a tab open. I have no idea. If anybody wants to call in, I'm going to give you the link now. If you want to talk about this case, it's now on the screen or in the chat. Call-ins are definitely encouraged. Let me just share the video as well on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit, and then people can call in. You can call in at any time. The chat's open already. Just click on the link and it'll take you right into StreamYard where we can talk about the case. If there are other cases you want to discuss, feel free to call in and we can talk about that as well. You don't need to be on cam. You could just do it by audio if you like. Just make sure your mic is not muted and we can chat. In the meantime, I'm going to share this video out, so just give me a few seconds while I work on that. But in the meantime, definitely do chat amongst yourselves. Welcome to the channel. If you are new here, basically we're covering the case of, well, Gabby, as we know. We will be covering other cases as well. We do soccer matches on here as well, but I'm thinking leaning more towards true crime as there is a lot of interest in cases in general. This one, of course, is garnering a lot of attention. But we will be covering different cases around the world. I have posted quite a few videos about the Breyer Schmegelsky and Cam McLeod. That was the big story just over a year ago in Canada. Two years ago now. Wow, time flies. I posted a bunch of videos about them. I covered Yuka Takaoka from Japan, who tried to murder her boyfriend while he was sleeping, cut him up, and she was just laying there with him while he was just about bleeding to death, but miraculously he survived. So yeah, let me know what you guys want to chat about. If you want to call in, the lines are open. I could take more than one call, so don't be shy, give it a try. In the meantime, I am going to share this stream out. So again, just give me a few minutes and then we can begin. Sure. But as I said, you could discuss amongst yourselves in the meantime. Or if you want to come in queue to talk on the stream, it's already ready. So click on the link. Let me also pin the StreamYard link so you can just click on it from the chat box. I'm going to put it at the top. I'm going to pin it. Just give me a sec. I'll do that right now. And then I'll share it out to different different places. All right, so it's pinned at the top now. You should be able to just click on that if you want to call in. Much easier. So apparently, yes, tomorrow they're going to be doing the autopsy. Maybe, hopefully we'll find out more information as to how she perished. I just hope her body is not that decomposed that they can't decipher what happened to her. Because if animals got to her, I would think that if there was any kind of bruising or scarring or slicing or whatever that he might have done to her, I don't think they'd be able to distinguish that if, again, animals got to her before. You would have to think that they did, though, because it's been over 3 weeks now that she's been there. If anybody has questions, let me know. Of course, opinions and comments are always welcome. That's the whole point of doing these streams. Of course, a lot of people ticked off at Brian. Question is, where is he? That's what we're all waiting for. Okay, so let's share this out. I know if I put a poll up asking, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that. Let's put up a poll and see what you guys have to say. I mean, it's pretty obvious what you guys are going to say, but I'm just going to put it up there anyway. Hey, Michael, you're asking what's with the report that he's in Alabama. They apparently found a backpack, but it's been in a trash can, but it's been debunked that it was not true. They showed a trash bin that apparently had been sealed off, but again, it's nothing to do with Brian. It's been debunked. Whereabouts are you calling from? Would love to have you call in. Not a problem, Michael. Not a problem. Again, that's what we're all here for, to try to share information as much as we can, opinions, comments. Everything's welcome here. Cleveland, Ohio. Let me me quickly set up a poll here. Hang on one quick sec. All right, so the poll is now active. Let's get it up to about what, 98, 99% on one-sided. I'm sure I know, and we all know what side that's going to be. Jenna Lee, welcome to the channel. So there are multiple accusations against Brian that he's guilty, comparing him to Watts and Peterson. What happens though if it somehow was an actual accident? Or what if he decided to leave Gabby? Jenna, that's fair. But the point is, why would you leave? Why would you hide, shall we say? Don't you think if it was an accident, he would have said something or stayed there? I mean, think about it. If you had a boyfriend or a husband or whatever, and something happened to him, even if it was an accident, common sense would be that you would be around to notify the police that, hey, you know, there's been an accident, right? I mean, I'm not saying you don't have a valid point. I'm just saying, what would you do in that situation? Michael says, also heard a report that for a second they saw him log into Instagram and he was on the water. Any merit? I heard something briefly about it, but again, the places where you hear about such things as this, I can't verify it. I would think it's not true. Hey, welcome back, your favorite darkness. You were here last night, right? Welcome, my friend. Okay, Jenna says, oh no, I completely definitely believe he's guilty. That's just an opinion I saw somewhere shared previously. Yeah, it's a good question, but I'm just saying that I don't think he's innocent or it was an accident. Again, that's my opinion, and you had a good question too, but I just don't think that was the case. Alisa Kihazi. Dude is acting way too suspicious. Oh yeah, and it's been how long now? Close to 8 days, I think it is now. Welcome to the channel, by the way. Jenna Lee says, regardless, it would look really bad either way. Definitely, of course. And yeah, Kai, that is the link. If you guys want to call in, please do so. I encourage it, as I do want to hear from each and everybody out there. I would rather hear what you guys have to say as opposed to me just rambling on to myself here, replying to you guys on chat. I mean, I don't mind doing it, but I would rather hear from you guys. The more opinions and comments we get, the better, right? Power of voice, power of the people. I still haven't even shared this stream out yet. Give me a sec. Let me do that now. You guys continue to chat. I will check all your messages in a little bit. I just want to share this stream so people from the outside could come on in and discuss it as well. Well, that's awesome. 10 votes already, all on hiding. I was going to give it like 98%, but you guys are doing me proud. Michael, last question. Someone is lying. Parents have not seen him since Tuesday. The FBI said they knew exactly where he was Friday. No, on Tuesday he went missing, and apparently the parents did not notify the police until Friday, which makes them just as suspicious. French Viking, welcome to the channel. So sad things like this happen in this world. Unfortunately, yes, 2021. It isn't like the 1920s anymore. I've mentioned it before in previous videos. For all of you out there, I want to know. For me, it was like this. In the 80s, when we were at home, we were able to go to sleep with just the glass door unlocked at the front door. Was it like that for you? I don't know how many of you were teens or whatnot back in the 80s, but do you remember if like you were able to go to sleep without having the fear of somebody breaking into your house? I mean, that thought didn't even cross our minds at that time. Now you can't go to sleep without putting steel bars on your doors. It's sad, sad situation. So I don't know if you guys have watched Mackenzie Baker TikTok videos. Her and her boyfriend picked him up as a hitchhiker. They picked him up at Coulter Bay and drove him to the dam where he, yeah, Alisa, I did post those videos actually. If you check back on my page, on my videos, you'll see that the first video I did about Gabby, I put all of her 6 videos describing when she picked him up, how much he paid, like $200 for a 10-mile ride, all that. Yes. Ambitious Gamer, where do I call in? Okay, do you see in the chat box at the top, there is a StreamYard link? You just click on that. Let me post it again for you. It's on the screen as well. But if you click on it in the top of the chat box, in the pinned message, you should be able to get in. I'm going to also put it in the description. Give me a sec. Just going to mute my mic for a second while I type some stuff in, and then I'll be right back, but I am here. So if you guys want to ask questions or whatever, feel free. Okay, guys, there you go. I did put it in the description as well. Hopefully it's a little easier. But I do see that Thatcher Arrington is waiting to come online. So let me add him now, or her, sorry, and let's chat. Good afternoon, evening, morning, Thatcher. Are you there?
How are you doing today?
How's it going?
It's going all right, man. So
Good,
I
good.
just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on this story just because it was just, dude, because I'm not a big media person, I don't
Yep.
really watch the news. I'm 20, right? And everyone thinks, oh, you're so woke. You watch the media all the time, right? I'm like, no, I'm not that kind of kid. But, when I heard about this story initially, it was just super sad because of the fact that, I mean, I kind of resonate with it because I do have a friend of mine who they were not actually on a trip with their fiance. They were actually on a trip with their boyfriend at the time. And she was actually left by her boyfriend about an hour away from her house because her boyfriend just literally left her alone. And what the very sad part about this story was, I didn't really know her boyfriend at the time. Her boyfriend left her like at their kind of campsite that they were at, and he apparently was going to go, I guess, get something else. I don't know. He didn't really clarify, but when he came back, someone had came to their campsite and like kidnapped her. And I'd never seen her again since that, and it's just super scary because my thing was like, because I haven't heard from her, and I mean, it's been like 2 years now, but her boyfriend, like, I just feel like it's really convenient that her boyfriend left and then he comes back, right? And then she's gone. I think it's a similar thing with this case, right? Like, they were on a cross country trip together, and I even, looked at their YouTube channel in the beginning, which I believe it had more videos, but I believe that the videos were deleted except for the main one, which I think has like 3.4 million views at this time. And I watched the video. I also watched the body cam footage from the cop who pulled Gabby and her boyfriend at fiance, excuse me, over for the domestic disturbance thing. And I actually saw a comment, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, which I do fully support Gabby, but just to kind of let the other side be known. What this person on a video, it was the video where they had the domestic abuse counselors not investigating, but like analyzing the situation. There was a guy who made a comment. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but somebody made a comment that said that Gabby was the aggressor, right? Like, you can see it in her eyes, you can see it in her body language, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. So I made a comment responding to that person. I was like, if she was the aggressor, even if she was, which I don't believe she was, I mean, don't you think that she has a reason to do something of that nature? Like, what I mean is, what if Brian, right? Because women normally don't attack men without provocation. There are some women who are just batshit crazy and they do that. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but yeah, there are some women who are just crazy, and I really don't think that Gabby is crazy. I mean, personally, my belief is, I mean, after about the 911 call and everything else, is that Brian either had abused her, either physically or otherwise. And finally, after a while, she just got fed up with it and fought back. And that's why, before the 911 call, and even I believe in that call, the caller makes a reference to Brian hitting Gabby and assaulting her. And then I don't really understand where Gabby assaults him. I don't. I read a little bit into it. I didn't read a lot because this kind of stuff just depresses me, especially because of the fact that, now her supposed remains have been found, which is even worse, and before the body cam footage came out of that specific traffic stop and all the stuff is being said about Gabby and Brian and everything else, I think really based on kind of the facts of what happened, whenever originally Gabby was reported missing and Brian came home without her, like, I just, it doesn't sit right with me personally as a man, as a guy who's supposed to be like not a POS, right?
Mm,
A guy who is supposed to be like morally correct, because
right.
guys are not supposed to be assholes to women, right? We're supposed to respect women, you know?
Yeah,
And there are
hold
so
on one
many.
second. Hold on one second. I'm gonna add Ty into the stream here.
Oh,
He
all
wants to
good.
come on in.
Sorry
Just
about
give me
that.
one quick sec, though. Hang tight.
All good, bro.
Hey, Ty, are you there?
Yeah, hi man.
Oh,
How's it going,
okay.
guys?
Welcome, man. Sorry to keep you on hold there. I was just letting
It's all
him
good.
talk a bit. But yeah, you guys can both continue. I'm here as well. If you guys
Yeah,
want to share
I'll
your
quickly
opinion.
try to kind of finish what my
Yeah,
thought
no
was,
problem.
and
Go ahead.
I'll let
That's
Ty
Take your time,
take
man.
over. But yeah, no, I just personally, if nothing else, not even talking about the body camera footage, all of that other kind of thing. Ty just posted the FBI got a search warrant for the home. Yeah, that was on the internet as
Mm-hmm.
well. I saw that. I feel like that, if you just count everything else from the story, right? Gabby was missing or was reported missing, and then Brian comes home. Like, the fact that he lawyered up immediately without even talking to Gabby's parents, like, absolutely once, shows me that he's very, at least, guilty in some regard, whether
Mm-hmm.
he killed her himself or something happened where even if he didn't kill her personally or did something with her, right? Like, he has some kind of major responsibility in this case because of the fact that he won't even talk to her family and just got a lawyer, didn't even say anything. I'm like, dude. And in the comment I made about if Ty was listening, talking about the comment that I made to the guy who was like, Gabby's the aggressor, Gabby should have been put in jail, and maybe she'd be
Mm-hmm.
alive today, and blah blah blah, all this other stuff. And I'm like, talking about that kind of thing. It's like whenever Brian comes home, and lawyers up. Like I talked about that in the comment where I was like, dude, she's literally your fucking fiance. Like the fact that I'm sorry that I'm cursing, but I'm just frustrated. I'm just angry at this dude because I'm like, the fact that this dude thinks it's okay, number one, to come home without his girlfriend, without literally searching the absolute face of the earth for his girlfriend, if he supposedly didn't have anything to do with her disappearance. And then, whenever coming home, right? Even if he didn't search for her, not even reporting her missing, not doing anything to help, not even talking to her parents, for God's sake. Because, like I said, she's your fiance, man. Like, you're supposed to love and cherish her because she's not just your girlfriend. You're going to marry her at some point, or you were supposed to.
Okay,
And
but
the fact that he
rewind a second though. How do you even know that he came back home? Just because they told us?
No,
Or
well, yeah,
we have
because I
no
saw
proof at
that
all
the,
about
the
that.
news article said that he did return home, and that the family, Gabby's family, was trying to contact him and get in contact with him, and he was ignoring all their stuff. From what I heard, from what the news article said, at least from this point, or not this point, as far as like currently, but like at least a couple weeks ago, when this situation, this tragic situation, started being reported on. So yeah, I was told that Brian, from the news article, that Brian did come home. He didn't come home in the van that they were in because that van apparently was found by a TikToker or somebody else that posted the video or supposedly was found abandoned. And
Yeah,
it's just
that was a YouTuber actually who was going camping, and yeah,
yeah,
that
that's
video
what I
is
thought it
legit
was. It
though.
was a
It is
TikToker or
legit.
a YouTuber or something like that. I didn't really understand who it was, but I knew it was some person on social media because I know they posted it for sure on YouTube. So yeah, I just man, I don't really I really feel like that this is a really just sad incident, and the
Yeah,
fact
but
that it could have been
that video
prevented,
that you're talking about, it
because
did that video is legit though. The one about the camper that was
yeah,
driving in. So, but according to you, do you think that
yeah, of
he
course.
went where he said he was going last Tuesday, hiking?
Like like sorry, I'm like a little slow. Where did he go last Tuesday? I've been following this, but I just blanked for a second.
Well, he said he came back home or whatever, and then on Tuesday he said he was going to go hiking, and then the parents don't call until Friday saying
Oh
he's
yeah,
missing.
yeah. Okay. Sorry,
Right?
I was thinking Friday. I just saw that, and I was like, I was thinking Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Friday
that's
is when
also
the
weird.
police were
Personally,
notified.
hmm?
Friday was when the police were notified.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I personally think that I mean, as a kid who has parents who generally support me in almost everything I do, I personally think from a parental perspective, regardless of Brian's fault in the actual like case, because I believe that he did kill her. But regardless of that, I believe that his parents at this point, even if he hasn't really told them that he actually, did something like he killed her, right? Or even if they do know, a parent's job is to protect their child and to stand by their child regardless of how, bad the situation is. And personally, I just think that, personally, I think that he didn't tell his parents and he's just trying to, sound like he's innocent. And I think that his parents didn't report it to the police because of the fact that they were trying to protect him, regardless of how bad the optics look.
And that's going to
And
turn out to be even worse for
yeah,
them
exactly. And
because
I don't
that's
really think the parents are really trying to, just be these villains and to assist a murderer, right? Or assist a killer, right? I just think that they're trying to do what's best for their son, regardless of like I said, how bad it really looks. And I really, but frankly, I don't think it's suspicious that they didn't call the police because they're trying to protect their son. But I just think that they really should have called the police and been like, hey, he's at least going somewhere. And that's not suspicious to me. It's just frustrating because it hinders the investigation.
I hear you. I hear you. Ty, what do you got to say?
Hey, I just wanted to mention something real quick. So, when it came to that YouTube's video, so that video isn't saying that the van didn't come back. What they were saying is they drove through that campsite during like the 28th of August. So it
Right.
is confirmed that the van did come back. So the van did come back from Florida because they took the van. So
Ah, okay.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, the whole situation is completely changed, right? Like now it's criminal. Now they found her body, and now the
Well,
coroner's trying to
okay,
find out
sorry, let me interrupt
everything.
you real quick. It's not her body. They suppose it's her body, but and I'm assuming it is, which is very sad, but forensic testing will kind of show us that.
Sure, right. But like, I mean, I'm gonna guess they had some sort of serious identifying thing, probably the tattoo on her
Yeah,
arm or something, because I
I
mean, they
agree.
told her family, and so from that we can assume it's pretty, 99.9% sure.
Hang on. Let me rewind a second. Ty, aren't you the guy from Utah?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I recognize the voice, man.
Yeah. Hey, it's
Welcome
nice to be
back, bro.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, sorry to interrupt you guys. Yeah,
I
you
couldn't
guys
get
can
enough.
continue, man. You guys continue.
But I mean, yeah, I just heard some stuff too. Apparently, there's something that the FBI wanted to know about their shed, which is really interesting. So I'm gonna guess they got some serious technological evidence that led them, and they're also looking for that search warrant just came out of what they're looking for, and they were looking for a hard drive specifically. Although they did get a federal search warrant, so that lets them literally do almost anything they want to, because that warrant is like far above a state warrant, so they can just take their time and search the whole thing. But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens, because I'm gonna guess, the FBI at this point is probably gotten a huge timeline, figured out exactly what happened on a bunch of different points, and I think we're probably gonna find out what happened to Brian in the next 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, and they stopped
Honestly,
looking in the Carlton Reserve too. They're not looking there anymore, so I'm gonna guess they think the family potentially lied. But they're looking for him in other places now. So they're not looking at the Carlton Reserve at all. They think that might be a ploy. I'm gonna guess the FBI.
yeah, and honestly, like people are talking about like this person said, yeah, a blissful spam says correction. The Walmart was in Mobile, but the body found was not Brian Laundrie. Landry, I really hope that he doesn't kill himself, because my thing is like if he actually is innocent, he needs to have the chance to prove he's innocent, because in our justice system in America, even though I'm not judge, jury, and executioner, even though I do believe he did kill her and he is guilty to some degree, if not. We do have a fair, or well, somewhat fair justice system where we claim to say that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So if he really is innocent, he needs to say it, and he needs to show that he is innocent of all charges, or at least of the major charge of killing Gabby. And the fact that, I just feel like, if someone was innocent in the beginning, they would want to prove their innocence. They would want to stick around and say, I didn't do this, and show, because actions speak louder than words. And, versus him just saying, oh, I'm not involved, right? It's kind of
But
like,
one thing that might kill your theory is that whole dash cam video, the body cam video, because you saw in that video that they were in a massive fight.
yeah,
So
exactly.
chances are now that she's dead, well, obviously, he's going to be number one suspect even before they
and I
found
think
her.
I agree.
I mean,
And
he was, even when they called him a person of interest. They just didn't want to get sued.
Right.
Yeah, that and the fact that I really wish that the FBI would have just called him a suspect, because literally he's the last person, or one of the last people, to see Gabby Petito alive. Just call it as it is. He's a suspect.
I mean, they would have gotten sued is the thing, though. And there have been things, especially with like the Atlanta bomber, where they actually said it was this guy, but that was actually the guy who's the hero who actually stopped the bomber. So they have to be really careful who they call a suspect, because defamation lawsuits aren't.
Yeah,
aren't a
defamation
joke.
lawsuits are big, especially from the FBI saying, "Oh, you're doing this, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
let me put my headphones in really quick. For some reason, I don't know why, but I am on my web browser right now, and all the audio for this is not going through my speaker. It's going through the microphone on my
No
phone.
rush, man. No rush.
And
We're
I
here.
can't hear
You're
very well,
connected.
so let
Don't
me
worry.
put my headphones in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have some AirPods. I'm going to just pop in real quick. Which
So-
you probably should be able to hear me better with those anyhow.
The autopsy is supposed to be happening tomorrow, right?
I believe so. Yeah. And I mean,
Okay,
as soon as
cool.
that happens, we'll be able to find out a lot more.
But so do you think
Okay, I'm
that
back.
if the animals did get her, is there any way to show that he did something to her, as opposed to, can't the animals just basically take her skin and whatever
I mean,
else and just
it depends how long ago, she was killed. And I actually watched that, that lawyer we actually talked about before. He
Mhm.
actually just made a video about this. It's really good. And he talked about how it's like, if they can say that she died prior to when he came back, you know what I mean? That's going to put him in the crosshairs. But if she had, if they can say, she died after he left,
yeah,
that would almost completely exonerate him from her death, right?
right.
So that's a question. But yeah, I mean, it's the Grand Tetons. They have grizzly bears, wolves and whatnot. So it's going to be really hard for them to know. But I mean, today they have some pretty intense, forensic stuff, and I'm sure they're putting their top guy on it.
Yeah, it looked pretty crazy scene there this morning and afternoon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to mute my mic for a sec, but you guys can continue chatting. I will be back in 2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, no, I just really hate that we have to have these kind of situations happen, I mean,
Yeah,
I
agreed.
haven't, I'm not even, talking about specifically this incident with Gabby and Brian. I mean, I'm talking about like incidents ranging back from like 2015, 2016 and prior, yeah, your favorite dog just leaving someone on the force doesn't exonerate him, but he definitely murdered her. Yeah, I mean, my thing is, and yeah, I believe he killed her. Yeah, but how he killed her, is up for debate. Meaning that, yeah, he could have left her in the forest, but I would say that's negligent homicide, right? That's negligent murder, right? Like he left her in the forest
Legally
to die.
speaking, no, that wouldn't be negligent homicide. It could be manslaughter hypothetically, but it would be hard for them to prove that. I mean, they would have to prove that he knew, like, if you look at that campsite, like there are other people there. Like he didn't just
Yeah.
leave her there, because if he just left her there, she would have walked to a campsite that was like,
Yeah.
it's dispersed, but
Another
like
thing that I
close
think
enough.
is weird. Yeah, another thing I think is weird is that somebody posted in that same video about the domestic abuse experts, talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone posted a comment that apparently Brian murdered 2 other women at a campsite as well. And I'm like,
Oh,
what?
that's provably not true. No, that was just the
Yeah,
media
I
BSing.
actually, yeah, no, I actually asked him. I said, if you have a link to that, like, put it in there because I haven't seen that yet, and just so I can kind of take a peek at it because I mean, he probably didn't. You're probably right. It's probably just the media being the media, but
Clickbait, yeah, clickbait.
exactly. And honestly, I just feel like that these kind of, and I mean, I actually made a video about this on my own YouTube channel that is actually the same channel I'm actually on this live stream on right now. But I really feel like that we have a society where people are not taken seriously for what they come forward about, and I think it's a really big deal, and I'm talking about primarily, because originally, like, it's coming out, right? Like, you're talking about this isn't even related to the Gabby Petito case. Like, this is talking about the whole, U.S. Senate proceedings now with all these Olympic gymnasts talking about how the FBI literally did nothing about a sexual abuse case not even just one sexual abuse case, multiple for over a year,
Nassar,
right?
right?
And I just feel like it's a problem in our culture, man, that people, and I actually didn't just talk about that specific incident in my video that I made. It was actually a screen recording. I was talking about a bigger YouTuber on the platform, probably the biggest YouTuber on the platform for what he does. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but
I do
basically,
not.
you don't know, he has 18.3 million subscribers currently, and he's the second YouTube search if you look up the letter D on YouTube. I'm talking about David
Duct
Dobrik
tape?
and the whole incident with Dorothy Dawn back in 2018.
Oh,
That,
okay.
yeah, I don't know if you've heard of that or if anyone else has heard of that
I have
incident.
not.
Basically, David Dobrik is a big vlogger and was and is. And there was an incident in 2018. I'm gonna call it an incident because that's what it is at this point. And I'm, like I said, I'm completely supportive of the victimized party, but there was a point in 2018 from a deleted vlog that was on the channel for several months after it was filmed that David posted it. I believe it had like 5.3 million views when it was taken down, and the video showed basically, these college age girls coming over to the Vlog Squad's place. I don't remember. It wasn't David's house. I believe it was an apartment at the time, like a bigger apartment that I guess they rented for the night for something for their vlog. And the girls were, at least from what I have understood from the video, because that video is still up there. It's not on his channel, but people have saved it and they reposted it, even though David keeps trying to strike it down and his buddies, so that way, they don't get in even more trouble than they're already in. And this incident, of course, and before going any more into it, has gotten bad enough to where literally there was one dude who was a former fan of Dobrik's who found him apparently at this kind of convention that he was going to and confronted him about this incident that allegedly, I say allegedly because it's not been proven in the court of law, but I do believe that it happened, and I do believe David is to blame, at least in part, in major part. But, confronted him about this whole incident, right? And if you know the backstory for this specific incident that I'm referring to with Duarte Dom, Delbrick, and a woman only to be identified as Hannah, it's so horrible. And the fact that Dobrik has a platform as of right now is just crazy, and Dobrik has always made controversial videos on YouTube, more of like, just being stupid, right? And also in more recent years, just in general, just doing stuff that people would not consider socially acceptable, more like very dark, twisted humor, like the time that they put Nutella on their faces and it was like blackface, or the time that they had a black guy whose name was Seth at the time that thought he was going to be making up with this model named Corinna Koff, who was part of the Vlog Squad, which is kind of Dobrik's little fan group as far as like the people who actually film with him. He was actually going to be making out with Corinna when he really was making out with a 45-year-old man who was actually on the set of the Vlog Squad, who is currently a part of the Vlog Squad, named Jason Nash. I think it's disgusting not because I'm against LGBTQP plus people at all, but because, if a man is straight, a man is straight. If Seth is straight, he's straight. And that is his right and his, it's his place to say, I am not against that kind of thing, but that's just not for me, right? Like, just because, I'm a guy doesn't mean I automatically like other men or automatically don't like other men, but it's his choice. If he's straight, he has that decision. And David literally tricked him like 3 times over 3 different time periods where he clearly was uncomfortable with doing it. And, the first time he did it and they kind of pressured him into it, I guess, and they tricked him. The second and third time, they just tricked him completely, and I just think it's really horrible that they did that because, people think it's not sexual assault, but I would say it is to a point, or at least some kind of assault, because they were tricking him into performing a more sexual act, which is making out with somebody, because kissing is sexual in its own nature, right? And the fact that he was doing it with someone who he otherwise wouldn't have consented is number one. That's before the whole Duarte Dom incident, right? So after all this stuff, when Dilbert posts all these kind of questionable videos, and I watched him very on and off, just because of the fact that I never really subscribed to him, I didn't like his content, I didn't vibe with his content, for a while. And after this incident came out about Duarte Dom, just to give a little backstory, every vlogger in the actual Vlog Squad has a little persona, kind of like an online personality that they portray. So a lot of people, before this whole thing came out, Duarte Dom, who still has, I believe, like 833,000 subscribers on his own personal YouTube channel right now, and no criminal charges filed against him at this point. He basically his little persona, right, was where he was labeled as a sex addict and a drug dealer or something like that, right? Or at the very least a sex addict. He was labeled as that thing, right? That was his like online persona as far as like what his kind of character was in character in the Vlog Squad. But here's the problem where this goes from Vlog Squad just being messing around to actual real life things and consequences and actions is when those college girls came over, like I may have mentioned earlier, and at least the woman who is identified as Hannah later on, she was 20 years old at the time. I think she wasn't the only 20-year-old there, if I'm remembering correctly. But even if she was, they provided her and her friends, who I believe there were 5 to 7 friends at the time, with alcohol. So number one, that's illegal to do because even though she's not a minor, as far as she's not under 18 or 17 or 16 or whatever age California considers to be a minor or to be an adult, she's not really an adult per se because she's not adult enough to drink alcohol. She has 1 more year until she is able to legally drink. So really, David and them shouldn't have been providing, specifically her, but everyone else who was underage at that party, alcohol in general. So, and the fact that I understand that David has to make content to a point, but there are times, not even this video, but other videos prior and after, where he has gone too far to make content. one time where one of his one of the people on his vlog squad almost died because of his actions, right? I don't remember who it was, but one of his vlog squad people like literally was in the hospital for a while because David almost killed him with this stupid stunt he was doing. And I think this was actually after this whole incident happened with the college girls. But basically, from what I understand, I actually read the insider article that came out about this event. And basically, what happened, or so they claim, was originally the girl named as Hannah. She was at the party and she didn't know who any of the Vlog Squad members were. Even though Dobrik was very famous on YouTube at the time and still to this day is, she didn't know who they were. She thought it was kind of cool. She was hanging out with some influencers and whatever. So Dom, right, kind of I guess fitting his kind of creepy, sex addict persona on the vlogs, started kind of hitting on Hannah and whatever, and Hannah's friend Sarah, and just kind of just being weird, right? So I think this is a really big red flag, but at some point before the actual thing happens, Hannah is led back to back room by Dom. Now I don't know if it's the same room that the alleged I say alleged because it hasn't been proven in a court of law happened later on that night. I don't know if it's the same room. It might be a different room still. They're in the room, it's pitch black. Hannah describes it, and after Dom hitting on her and everything else beforehand, he asks her if she wants to sleep with him, and she's like no. And in this article, it mentions multiple times, that at least twice, that Hannah states that she is not interested in sleeping with Dom, who, actually in the beginning, the reason why the girls were actually there was to have a fivesome with Dom. And Dobrik even mentions this on video before the girls actually get there in this now deleted vlog. And I'm saying this in detail because I really wanted to I really want to note how horrible this is in the very end, and the fact that David has gotten almost no kickback from it, in the sense that he did get canceled for a while, came back, and is now doing fine, right? He shouldn't be doing fine. He should be off YouTube, and he should be at least with a little bit of legal problems. But anyways, going forward from this incident, right? Talking about Hannigan, because Dom lets her go back to the party after she says, I'm not interested in sleeping with you. But as this party goes on and the alcohol is provided, at some point Hannah is drinking alcohol of her own accord. There are other times where Dom and other Vlog Squad members, and specifically Dom, are encouraging her to drink more and more and more. So you can kind of see where this is going. She gets drunk, and in the video that was shot by the actual Vlog Squad that was deleted, and the fact that the actual article talks about that she was drunk off her ass and couldn't hardly walk, right, after this whole incident, and even before, Dom, at some point in the night led Hannah into her room, right? And I don't remember in the article if Hannah's friend was with her at the time. I believe that she did go in with her. I don't remember all the article, but the main fact I would say is that Dom went into that room, and even if Dom was intoxicated or even drunk, it doesn't really matter at that point. The facts are, is before this thing happened, he got her drunker than she would have been normally. Number one, she shouldn't have been intoxicated or drunk at all because she was a minor. Two, the fact that they provided it was bad enough. Three, she did drink, which, I mean, yeah, a lot of teens, 20-year-olds like to drink. Whatever, that's them, not me. But the fact that they really kind of forced her to drink more and suggested and really more forced her to drink more than she would have actually wanted to, is very suspicious, in my opinion, for everybody involved. And Dom, going back to the bedroom, Dom takes her back to the bedroom and literally rapes her. And not even the fact that he rapes her, right? The fact that, number one, the video was filmed in the house. And here's the thing. If Dom would have raped her after the camera was not rolling, that's a little bit different. But the fact that the Vlog Squad were literally all of them, like a bunch of fucking children, were
Yeah, I know what
the
you're
door
saying,
and
but
shit.
let's stick with Brian Laundrie for now, because we're totally going off track on this one and going on to another case.
Well, no, I'm just saying, hold on, let me finish my point. I'm gonna finish up. But basically, since, all this has happened, right? Dom did this, Hannah has come out and she hasn't really been publicly identified because she doesn't want to be, because of the fact that she doesn't want to be, talked about, she doesn't want to be connected with the vlog. I think the fact that David made money off of that video and only took it down when Hannah texted Dom about taking the video down months later is ridiculous. The fact that David literally made money off of a woman's pain and a crime is ridiculous. The fact that YouTube didn't take any action against David is even more ridiculous. And I just think it shows to a problem in our culture where women, and this is Gabby as well, women are not believed whenever they come forward with sexual whatever allegations, or at least, in the very least, investigating the person who they are claiming has done these things. With Larry Nasser, no one believed them for a long, long time. And look how it turned out. Now he is probably now the worst child pedophile in the history of modern history ever, or even history that has been recorded in the history of this planet, in the history of this country. And then with David and this woman, right? There's still people, 18.3 million of them, who still support David. And of course, there are still people who are going to support Brian amid, not even just friends of his and family, but people who on the internet who have their own 2 cents to put in. And, I get it. Everyone's really entitled to their opinion, and everyone has a right to their opinion because it is America and we do have freedom of speech. But to a point, you have to look at what is actually factual in this case, what has actually happened, and, what Brian has done, what Gabby did before she disappeared, and now she's showed up as deceased. Just look at what has been proven to be factual, because a lot of people, even though they talk about the fact that Gabby, might have been the aggressor in that specific situation, the camera footage, they say body camera doesn't lie, and to an extent that's true. But just, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't get a good feeling when Brian comes home and lawyers up and doesn't say anything to anybody and then acts all suspicious. I don't think it's okay.
So do you think they'll end up finding him alive or dead?
Dude, I hope to God they find his bitch ass alive, because even if, he didn't kill her himself, he has a lot to answer for regardless, because of the fact that he has to tell investigators what is happening. And if he kills himself, that's going to be, that is literally going to haunt this family for years to come, for the rest of their life. And for the rest of their lives, for Gabby, I mean, not, and here's the thing, not even just for Gabby's parents, for Brian's parents, right? If they even care a little bit about Gabby, let's say Brian did kill himself, or has killed himself at this point, or does in the future before the police can find him, or even when the police find him, he puts a gun to his neck or whatever and kills himself, right? I think that if Brian's parents care about Gabby, as far as, that she was their future sister, or future sister, future, sister-in-law, right? Or something like that. I just feel like that it's just crazy that, that this is all happening. But going back to Gabby's parents, I think that, if Brian is found dead, and he has killed himself, or he kills himself and then the police try to arrest him or find him or whatever, I think that's going to haunt them for the rest of their lives, mainly because of the fact that they felt like, that they allowed Gabby to be with Brian and to date him for a while and to get engaged to him, because, he's her fiance. Or I'm sorry, she's his fiance, excuse me. And, the fact that they allowed her to do these things, even though it really isn't, their fault, they will feel responsible for it because they're her parents, and they feel any parent who's at least a decent parent feels responsibility to protect their child, right? And they feel a responsibility to be responsible when something bad happens to their child, no matter how old or young they are. And, my parents feel the same way. Like, if something were to happen to me that was very tragic, they would feel responsible. For whatever reason, they'd find a way to feel responsible. And to a point that's not feasible, because, you couldn't have predicted what happened, right? Or what will happen. But at some point, they also, I mean, even though they're not really responsible, they will make themselves feel like they're responsible, and that's very sad. And even, going to Jack, Brian's parents, if they care at all, if Brian's found dead, they are going to be sad about their son, but they're going to be even more sad that they let him go, right? That they let him go hiking or doing whatever, and then he winds up dead, even if, they don't care about Gabby's family at this point, which they should, because their son is at least a little bit, if not a heck of a lot, involved in their daughter's death. I'm sorry, Gabby's daughter, sorry, in the Petito's parent daughter's death. Number one, number two, the fact that it's just the whole mess. So
The problem is though, okay, yes, he might have offed himself and we'll never find out the truth, but at the same time, it could also be the reverse effect. If he's alive, he might not talk at all because he doesn't have to. I mean, sure, he'll end up in jail, but that doesn't mean he's going to give you answers. I think I always said I hope he's alive so we can get the answers, but in a way, I kind of hope he did off himself, because then there's also a good chance that the parents might speak afterwards, because then all the attention is going to be on them.
yeah,
Because it already is.
yeah. I
So there's two ways
mean,
to look at it.
yeah. And honestly, personally, I don't ever, and this is just my personal opinion and my personal belief, that no matter how whatever someone has done, even like, let me use Nasser as an example, because he's such a horrible person. Even to him, I would not tell him to go kill himself, because I don't believe anyone deserves to be told that, or anyone deserves to be talked about like that, no matter how bad they are, right? No, we're all human, and that does not excuse what someone has done. That does not excuse what Nassar has done. That does not excuse what Brian supposedly at this point has done, and what people are alleging that he has done up to this point. Even people like Stalin and Hitler and people like that, who are awful, awful, awful people, who society considers and the world considers to be the legitimate bane of the earth, right? The scum of existence, right? Even more so than Asar and everybody else at some level. I wouldn't tell them to go off themselves, because I don't believe that's right for anyone to tell anyone else to go off themselves, regardless of how bad they have screwed up, as far as regardless of what they have done.
I
You
don't
know
I
that
don't know about that, because I could easily say, like, and I don't want to make this kind of assumption or question to you, but what if it
Yeah.
was a family member or a friend of yours and they murdered them? You would still say this?
I actually, frankly, like, I understand that it's very hard to say that, yeah, but I would still say that, because I believe that, no one should be treated like that. Like, I understand, I, of course, if a family member of mine was killed by, like, let's say, for example, like an actual, current application. Let's say I had a family member, or I had a close friend who was abused by an Asar, right? With all the stuff coming out about him and everything else, even in his darkest moments, and the fact that, we now know, the monster, that I would call him a monster, that is, Larry Nassar, and he is going to go into prison, or is in prison now, for the rest of his life, where he rightly belongs, with absolutely no chance of parole. And and I honestly think that that's where he should be, and that's where he should stay, because everyone agrees that, right? No
Yeah,
matter
but you're
what people.
talking about an abuser. I'm talking about an actual murderer.
Well, here's the thing. The thing that an abuser has in common with a murderer, right? They both create lasting effects on people, not just the victims, right? Whereas a murderer kills somebody and affects their entire family forever, right? Because they'll never forget that that person killed whoever in their family, whether it be a guy, a girl, a dad, a mother, a father, a daughter, whoever. Like, it'll create a lasting impact. Whereas Nassar specifically, talking about people like Ali Reisman, Simone Biles, those people who have come forward, they have to live with the fact that Nassar abused them. And I'm not saying that, it's not all, rainbows and roses. And, I honestly think that, frankly, being abused is worse than being murdered, because of the fact that you have to live with that fact that this horrible thing happened to you. And, you can choose to let it define you for the rest of your life, or you can work to overcome it. And these women, specifically the four and more that showed up at the U.S. Senate hearing, including Biles herself and Ali Reisman, among others, are very strong for standing up. And going back to your question of if someone murdered someone in my family, would I feel the same way? And I would say, yeah, I'd feel the same way because, regardless of how bad someone has committed a wrong against you, right? Or in this case, against someone who you loved, right? Someone who you care for legitimately and genuinely, kind of here going actually, let's go back. Let's take a current case for this murder example, right? If you guys have been on the TikTok and you have seen the video where the girl named Jazzy Clashy Kush Company calls out people who are at her sister's funeral who are fake, right? That video, I don't know how many views that video has at this point. It had like 13.4 million when I looked at it last. If you guys have seen that video, it's very emotional. I think personally for me, because of the fact that, I would never want someone in a funeral, right? Or someone who I know and I love, especially if I was, her sister, sister of the person who died, and I saw people who were fake coming into her funeral, I call them out too. I'd be like, you're not allowed to be here because you guys didn't, if she didn't like you guys in real life and you didn't like her in real life, what makes you think she's going to hug up to you and kiss your boot and lick your boot and kiss your butt whenever she's dead, right? And a lot of people have responded in support of this woman. And this video is on TikTok currently, I believe. TikTok actually tried to ban her account, right, for community guidelines violations after she posted this video, which I think is horrible that TikTok would do that. But regardless of that, right, if you look into the story of this whole entire incident, there was 3 people in a car. I believe it was like a Toyota Corolla, and they were driving down the road, blah 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 blah, talking, and they were hit by a red light runner, or they say suspected red light runner, but a red light runner. The 3 people who were in the vehicle was a girl named Jasmine, a girl named Ariana, and a guy who has not been identified. I believe his name I think was Jason or James, but in one of the articles I read he wasn't identified. The girl who was driving was 18, who was Ariana. Jasmine was in the back seat, I believe, or maybe I don't know where she was in the car, but Jasmine was in the car as well. She's 19, and the other guy was 20. So 18, 19, 20. The 2 girls immediately died, right? Gabby, excuse me. Ariana died, I believe, at the hospital, and the other girl died at the scene, or I don't know, but both of them are at least deceased now. And, and that kind of thing, it could have been prevented if someone wouldn't have made a stupid decision, because the person who hit them was a 22-year-old male driving a Tesla, and police are looking into whether at this point whether he was intoxicated or not. And I personally I think that regardless of the fact that if you're intoxicated or not, if you feel like you're going to make a stupid decision whenever you get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, you should not get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle. Like if you feel like let's say you've gotten a new sports car personally, like a Camaro or like a Mustang, and you want to go joyride it, right? Don't do it. For something of that nature. Like if the guy wasn't, intoxicated on drugs or alcohol, right, and he just wanted to joyride his Tesla, because a lot of people like joyriding Teslas because of the fact that they're electric and they accelerate very quickly, and regardless of what model you pick, they're just cool cars, right? And I just feel like this could have been way prevented, and the fact that if something like that were to happen to my family, right? If I had even one family member in a car that was hit by a red light runner and they died, right? I wouldn't tell the person who killed them, right? The person who was very careless and who had a complete disregard for human life, even if they were or weren't drunk, I wouldn't tell them to go off themselves, even though I would absolutely despise them for making a very just horrific decision that led to the death of someone I really loved and cared for, even if it was a parent or a sibling. Everyone, in my opinion, deserves not to be talked about that way, because words really do hurt people, man. And it is apparent in our culture, in our society, words hurt. And dating as far back as the old days, the old days mean like the 90s, the 80s. Words hurt, especially whenever people were coming out as gay, bi, transgender, all these other things. People would hate on them just because of that, right? Like personally, I'm not going to really talk about what I sexually identify as because that's just not something I'm going to discuss here. But things where people have gotten hate for what their gender is or what their gender identity is or what their sexuality is. I just the fact that people still have hate in their hearts, and I would say there's a very big difference, personally, in between hating somebody and disagreeing with them, but being respectful of them. I can personally say I am not gay, bi, lesbian, whatever. I'm straight, and I dislike that people are gay, bi, whatever. But I respect the fact that they are that way, and I love them just as I love everybody else who is straight, right? Like, and that's not my opinion on the
Yeah, but
matter,
this,
but
we're straying from what the main topic is. We can't be talking about that kind of stuff. I mean, that's not what we're here for. But what I want to say to you is you were saying that you don't believe in, like, if somebody did commit a crime or something, that they should be offed, right?
right. Well, not
So
even that. Just that
wait,
people
wait,
people should
do
hate
you
on them.
believe in an eye for an eye then? Like, say for example, like you were talking about Larry, the abuser. If he abused, do you believe that it's only fair play if he gets abused now?
No, because two wrongs don't make a right, in my opinion. Like, and that's for anything.
Abusing
That
anybody isn't the right way to start either. So I mean, if he
Well,
did it,
no. I understand that, but I'm saying what he did, because there's an NBC News article that says that he abused allegedly over 265 women, and
yeah,
that's horrible in and of itself, right? But my thing is, when I say two wrongs, what Nassar did was absolutely horrible
that's
and is
255
despicable in
wrong.
every. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
just because he has done all these awful things doesn't mean that someone can do a wrong to him and it makes all of that right, right? That it doesn't like absolve everything that happened. Like it doesn't make someone equal to
No, it
him,
doesn't
right?
make them
Or
equal,
not,
but
or not
there's
equal to
things
him,
called
but equal.
karma and justice.
Well, hey, man, that justice, personally for me, that's the justice system, man. Like the fact that he's never going to get out of prison, that's justice, man. And when people say that they want to take justice into their own hands, as far as like they start getting assaulted in prison, getting beat up or whatever in prison, and then getting transferred to a federal prison. Yeah, that's part of it. But like I said, if I was in prison in the SAR and I understood what the crimes that he did was, I wouldn't do that kind of thing to him, because just because he did all of these things, just because I'm trying to do this to get back at him, that doesn't make what I'm doing right or just
No, I know, and again, I'm
at
not trying to
all.
sound confrontational with you or anything, but what I'm saying is this: you said that you have no problem with him spending the rest of his life in jail, but at the same time, so you're saying you have no problem paying for him to stay alive, to feed him, to do whatever he has to do to stay alive. It's on your money, taxes, and everything else.
Man, I'm gonna say this. I frankly believe that unless a state, like, I don't know if Michigan,
Yeah,
or has the death penalty as an option. I don't know if they do or not. I didn't look into it like that.
right.
But if they did have the death penalty, I really think that it should have been, Nassar should have been put to death. I agree. I believe he should have been put to death. But if Michigan doesn't have the death penalty,
All right.
we just have to keep him in prison. And as messed up as it is, I guess that some people would say that we are paying for him to stay alive. Which, yeah, it's true, we are. I feel like that's just how the justice system works. That we have to just let justice take its toll, and justice, because he will. I mean, it will prison is emotionally, physically. I mean, it drains everything, right? And to where he will have nothing, right? If he didn't already have nothing, he will have nothing even further in prison.
Yeah.
And I believe that killing him is frankly the easy way out for him, because of the fact that, him, even though we are paying for him to stay in prison, I believe that it's beneficial to everybody else, because of the fact that people can see him rotting away and becoming a shadow and a shell of a person that he was. And that's even worse than, or even better, in my opinion, than killing him, because that's easy for him. That he doesn't really have time to really reflect on what he's actually done, if he even cares, right?
Yeah,
And
like I was saying, I wasn't trying to be confrontational. I was just trying to keep the subjects open, and everybody's going to have a different opinion, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I'm not confrontational with you. Just trying to see it from your way, and different angles.
Yeah. Hey, someone just posted their favorite darkness. He posted earlier. The father of one of the gymnasts killed himself for not believing his daughter. Now that is something that was very, very, very. I hadn't actually heard of that, or heard about that, but that's very, very sad. I really feel like that no one, no matter what desperate situation that they're in, no matter how dire the situation seems, like they should never want to kill themselves. They should never actually attempt to suicide or attempt suicide, no matter how desperate it seems. No matter this tries like to Brian, no matter what the outcome is for him as far as like what he feels like is going to happen. He should not ever kill himself because that's just a horrible way to die. Even though it's pretty much instant, right? It's pretty much painless. It's just a horrible way to go. And I mean, I will get very open about this topic in the sense that when I was younger, I really did struggle with thoughts about suicide and depression because I was on a medication. I'm 20 years old now, and I have some mental handicaps. I have autism, I have ADHD, I have ADD, I have OCD to a degree. And when I was 15 years old, I was on a medication called Wellbutrin, and Wellbutrin made it to where I was very nervous to do anything. I was very, very skittish and scared because normally, as you can probably tell, I'm a very outgoing person. I'm very social. I speak up, but back then I wasn't like that, right? And well, even before the Wellbutrin, but when I was on that medication, I didn't have an appetite. Like normally I eat a lot. I wouldn't hardly eat. I wouldn't hardly sleep. It messed with my sleep. It messed with my actions. It messed with my brain chemistry. But to a point where I was so scared when I got my driver's permit, because I live in Texas and we get learner's permits at 15. I was in the car with my dad. I remember coming out of the kind of the elevated downslope of coming out of my old high school's parking lot. Whenever the light turned green, I turned left and got scared because I thought someone was running the light, and I stopped in the middle of the road, and I was so scared at the time. Like it really affected me, man. And my dad at that point realized that it wasn't me, that was messing with me. It was the medication. So he immediately took me off the meds and made it to where I wouldn't take anymore. And almost overnight got better. Whenever the medication flowed out of my system, they realized that was not, because I believe Wellbutrin was a mood stabilizer initially, or it was trying to be a mood stabilizer for me because I'm not moody in general, as far as like I'm not like angry all the time, but it just helps to when I get in a situation where I could get angry, that I have a little bit more, I guess, self control. And and that is very, very personal to me about talking about suicide, talking about telling people to go off themselves, and Nassar and
Hang on, just
now talking.
give me a quick second. I just got to get a call, but you can continue. I'm just here. I just got to mute my mic for a minute, okay?
All good.
Thanks.
And talking about people offing themselves and telling people to off themselves. It's serious, man. And talking about people who have off themselves due to not just interpersonal bullying, like bullying in school and whatever else, online bullying, man. A good example of this, was a girl who killed herself because people, made fun of her because she was blackmailed, because she was extorted, right? She wasn't even, 20 years old when this happened, right? She wasn't even out of high school. She wasn't even 18, right? I don't believe she even ever drove a car in her life. Talking about Amanda Todd, right? If you don't know her story, she's the girl like years and years ago who posted that video with the cards. The original girl who posted the video with the note cards that had her abuse story on it, right? The story of people making fun of her and blackmailing her, and just kind of well, now we know it was blackmail, but just this story, right? Where it just this guy who's now of course been identified, as this older guy. He took advantage of a gullible young child, right? And I say she's gullible because a lot of young children believe everything that they are told by adults. They're an adult, right? So I can immediately trust them, right? Or no matter what the adult asks, I have to blindly trust them. And I'm not saying that that's Amanda's fault whatsoever. I'm saying that, children are taught to trust authority and trust parents. But I believe that we should also teach our children to, to be aware of their surroundings, to be aware of what's going on, because of the fact that if an adult does something, right, like in Amanda's case, if an adult is on a video chat with a child, right, or the child is on some sort of webcam show, right, that's not necessarily anything inappropriate or sexual, right, and is just doing it because Amanda, they even referred to in the Fifth Estate or Sixth Estate video that I watched, they referred to it as Amanda kind of wanted her stage to sing and share her voice and to share kind of her talent and her love for the world. And the guy who came on, right, he persuaded her, right, to show skin that she wouldn't have otherwise showed on the internet. And at the time, he took a screen recording or a screen capture of it, and blackmailed her with it for years on end. And not just that, he blackmailed her with all the other stuff that he persuaded, quote unquote, her to send him. And then when the guy made it public, as far as like, he pretended to be a student at her school and posted the photos of her and all this other stuff on Facebook, as much as it would get taken down, people would always share that kind of thing around, and they would bully her at school. And I really honestly think that, sex extortion and all this other stuff is horrible enough in and of itself. But the fact that people literally bullied her for that kind of thing is just horrible. And I really hope that all those people who bullied her, I think it was 3 schools that she switched to before she killed herself, but the 3 schools, right? That all these students, and I'm not talking about students who really thought, her situation was serious and that, they didn't laugh at her, but for the majority of students, for all the students who critiqued her and laughed at her and made fun of her, I really hope you are happy with yourselves, because you have blood on your hands now. Like, because I would most likely bet that if all the people or a lot of the people at her schools didn't make fun of her and really just didn't do that and supported her in this and was like, hey, we know that this is horrible and we're supporting you, she might be alive today. The world will never know, but she might be alive today. And the fact that people made fun of her and ridiculed her, it isn't that far-fetched because of today's world, but it still does not make anything right. The fact of people making fun of her for something that was really not out of her control, in the sense that, out of her, I mean, yeah, at that point it was out of her control, but she was more coerced to do something she not didn't want to do necessarily. She must have wanted to do it to a point, just I guess to prove herself to an adult, to say she was cool. But at that point, I believe that at that age, Amanda didn't know that that was really that wrong. And if she did know it was wrong, she didn't care. She wanted to prove herself, which a lot of young children want to prove themselves to an adult and to anyone. Yeah, like to prove themselves to anyone. And that's why I think, talking about suicide again, that it's a very big deal when people say, to other people, talking about what Rabbit said in the beginning, to go off themselves, or people ridicule other people in school or elsewhere, repeatedly, whether it be online or in person or whatever, about whatever it might be, because it really affects people. And we've seen people kill themselves in schools. We've seen, not in schools, but like we've seen people kill themselves over bullying, either cyberbullying or in person. And I think that it's important to note that bullying in any situation is not okay. And I'm actually going to call it school administrators on this one, not specifically for Amanda, because I don't know what the school administrators did or didn't do, because I don't think there's really a lot of coverage for that. But specifically, in my school district, specifically the one I went to, I mean, I feel like in the general sense, they had a very good reporting system, where if someone was either harassing you, stalking you, bullying you, you could go to them and say, hey, this is happening. I need you guys to take action. But I really think that the biggest shortfall of that policy, like an open door policy where they really would listen to you, is if you told them that it happened outside of school property, they wouldn't do anything about it, right? or even if it did occur on school property outside of school hours, they would be like, well, you're on school property, yeah, but it's not outside, it's outside school hours, so we are no longer responsible for you, right? And are responsible for your well-being and basically taking care of you, right? And I understand that to a degree because the school is not responsible for your personal life. But I believe that it's kind of, I feel like school should be treated kind of like a work environment because you are working when you go to school, when you go to high school and college, but specifically high school and intermediate school, but mainly high school. You are there to perform a specific task, which is do your classwork, listen to the teacher, do your work, and go home and do your homework and do well in your studies. That's your job. And I believe that school should be treated like a job in that sense. And in the other sense, that if someone is having a problem with another student, like for example, if a girl has a male student in the school that is stalking her at school, that they or bullying her at school, going back to this idea of bullying, I believe that, even if it's out of school, they should do something because that bullying, even though it doesn't happen on school property within school hours, it does affect, whenever they do come back to school, that it might cause unnecessary friction at school, at the supposed workplace.
Hey,
So
Thatcher, I'm
I
back.
think that's a big deal. All right, cool.
I'm gonna have to cut the conversation off because I think I got another caller coming in. But if you want to call me back later on, you're more than welcome. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you can as well.
All good, man. Hey, is
All right.
this how do you use this website, this program? How do you get it to work?
You just go to StreamYard.com and log in, and then it's pretty straightforward, really, point and click.
Can you do it on the phone? Can you do it on mobile or?
Yeah, but you have to do it like on your browser, on your mobile. There's no app for it.
I gotcha. All right, man. Well, you have a good day.
All right, you too. Thanks a lot, eh?
Appreciate it.
All right, bye. Hey, Manny, how you doing? Welcome to the channel, man. Yeah, your favorite darkness. He had a lot of information. He spoke well mannered too. Didn't swear or cuss every second word. He was a good guy. Definitely. That's why I recommend that he calls back anytime. I should have gave him the opportunity to give a shout out to his channel though. I forgot to do that. If you're still in the chat, Thatcher, you can promote your channel one time on the chat box there. Next time you call in, I'll let you just say it online. Your favorite darkness? Are you going to be around tonight? I'm going to come back on do another live stream at 11 p.m. Eastern. I think you were on last night too, right? In the chat. I'll go on for about another 5 minutes or so, and then, as I was saying, we will come back tonight in about 4 hours' time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, for sure. That was a few nights ago. Okay, I thought it was yesterday, but mixing up all my days. Every day seems the same nowadays. But that's cool, man. I look forward to seeing you tonight as well. Yeah, the night before she was found. So Saturday night. You were on Saturday night. You going to be able to call in? Do you have the capability to call in? I wouldn't mind chatting with you. Michael says, I got cut off earlier. So do we know that the law enforcement screwed up saying they knew where Brian was? The parents said he was missing since Tuesday. Who to believe? So many questions, so few answers. Again, it's all going to be speculation and people's opinions. I didn't hear the LE saying that they screwed up in any way, shape, or form. I definitely don't believe the parents. He leaves on Tuesday and you report on a Friday, 3 days later. Yeah, no, I don't think so. But Michael, yeah, if you can as well, I'll be again, as I was saying, live at 11 p.m. Eastern tonight. So if you want to call in at that time, maybe you won't have phone issues, but you can try, and if you do, you can just keep on trying. So it is here anyway, 6 or 10 to 7 Eastern. So I will be back on in about 3 hours time, right around 11 p.m. Eastern. If you guys want to join me, you are more than welcome to just chat, or if you want to call in, I will post a new link once I create the stream, and everybody is welcome to call in. I don't ban anybody from calling in. All I ask is that keep it respectable when you do call in. Try to limit the amount of swearing if possible. I know YouTube lets a bit slip away, but I mean, I don't really want it to become an all like F this and F that or whatever. Let's try to keep it civil, because there are, certain age range that do listen. A couple of youngins do listen in sometimes, so I would appreciate that everybody enjoys civil conversation. Yeah. 3 things we really don't want to talk about too much is politics, religion, and race when it comes to these kind of topics. It could be a little touchy, so I would rather steer clear from those subjects. But for now, I want to thank all you guys for coming out once again. Your favorite darkness, Michael, so many people, Amani. We even had a channel wing come in. Tommy had a little too much estrogen for this conversation, he said. Brian, thank you. That's Ketarin, not the other Brian. We do have another Brian. He'll probably call tonight. Brian C. at 11 o'clock. Tindamol, thank you for joining. Dominic as well. And everybody else that was here earlier. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. If you have a few seconds, please do hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't yet, do subscribe, as you will get notified when I do go live in 3 hours' time. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining, guys and gals. I hope you guys have a pleasant evening. Stay safe, stay strong. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the family. Family first. Nothing else matters. We'll see you in a bit. This is Trending Rabbit.